Welcome to this video, where we'll dive into the character of Cinderella, one of the most famous fairy tale figures in history. We'll explore the traits of this character, who has become a symbol of kindness and patience, and how her story teaches valuable lessons about resilience, inner strength, and overcoming difficult circumstances. We'll also look at the contrast between characters like the wicked stepmother and the cruel stepsisters, and how Cinderella, with her innocence and goodness, ultimately achieves her dreams. Stay tuned to discover what makes Cinderella such an inspiring figure for millions of people around the world. Developing your English language skills through folk stories is a fun and effective way to improve various aspects of your language proficiency, including vocabulary, grammar, reading comprehension, listening skills, and cultural understanding. Here's how learning, reading, and listening to folk stories can help you. 1. Expanding vocabulary. Folk stories often contain a rich variety of vocabulary, including descriptive words, everyday expressions, and sometimes even regional terms. By reading or listening to folk tales, you can learn new words. Folk tales introduce words related to nature, emotions, actions, and relationships, such as adventure, bravery, wicked, charming, and mysterious. Understand word usage. You'll see how words are used in context, helping you learn how to use them naturally in conversation or writing. Learn idiomatic expressions. Folk tales often include expressions or phrases that are unique to certain cultures, which can expand your understanding of the language. 2. Improving grammar and sentence structure. Folk stories typically have a straightforward narrative structure, which allows learners to observe how sentences are formed, how tenses are used, and how dialogue is presented. By reading and analyzing folk tales, you can see sentence patterns. Many folk tales have a clear, repetitive sentence structure, which can help learners understand how to build their own sentences. Learn different tenses. Folk tales use a variety of tenses, past, present, and future, to describe actions, events, and storytelling. This helps you improve your understanding of verb tenses and how they change over time. Understand dialogue. Folk tales often feature dialogue between characters. Listening to how characters speak will help you understand conversational English, including how questions and responses are structured. 3. Enhancing listening skills. Listening to folk stories, whether through audiobooks, podcasts, or videos, provides an excellent opportunity to improve your listening comprehension. Here's how. Practice understanding spoken English. Folk stories are often narrated with clear, expressive speech, making them ideal for practicing listening. By listening to these stories, you'll become better at identifying different sounds, accents, and speech patterns. Improve focus and concentration. Folk stories are typically told with a steady rhythm and pace. This can help you stay focused and practice listening to longer passages of spoken English without losing track of the meaning. Learn pronunciation. Listening to native speakers narrating folk tales will expose you to correct pronunciation, intonation, and stress patterns, helping you improve your own spoken English. 4. Developing reading comprehension. Reading folk stories improves your ability to understand written English. Here's how. Understand context. Folk stories often include cultural references, idioms, and metaphors that help you learn to infer meaning from the context, even if you don't understand every word. Improve critical thinking. As you read folk tales, you'll need to think critically about the themes, characters, and lessons in the story. This will enhance your overall reading comprehension skills. Read aloud. Reading folk tales aloud helps practice pronunciation and fluency, and it allows you to internalize the language structures and vocabulary. 5. Cultural awareness. Learning folk stories from different cultures gives you a deeper understanding of the world around you. By engaging with folk tales, you'll learn cultural expressions and customs. Folk tales are often deeply connected to the culture and history of a region. By learning these stories, you'll gain insight into different ways of thinking, customs, values, and traditions. Connect language with culture. Language and culture are closely intertwined. Understanding the cultural significance behind folk stories will give you a broader context for the language, making it easier to grasp idiomatic expressions, humor, and nuances. 6. Engaging with the storytelling tradition. Folk stories have been passed down through generations, often told in a way that captures the listener's attention. By reading and listening to folk tales, you learn narrative techniques. Folk tales often use repetition, symbolism, and allegory to convey deeper meanings. This helps you understand how to structure and tell stories effectively in English. Enjoy the rhythm of language. Folk stories are often written with a certain rhythm or musical quality, which can help you appreciate the flow of English, improving both your speaking and writing. 7. Building confidence in using English. Because folk stories are generally simple and engaging, they make learning English more enjoyable and accessible. By regularly reading and listening to these stories, boost your motivation. Folk tales are often exciting, full of adventure and moral lessons, making them enjoyable to read or listen to. This keeps you motivated to learn more. Increase your comfort level. As you become familiar with the language and structures used in folk tales, you'll start to feel more comfortable using English in different contexts, whether in conversation, writing, or comprehension exercises. How to get started. Read folk tales online or in books. Many folk stories are available for free online or in collections, so you can start reading them at your own pace. Look for stories that interest you, whether from a particular country or genre. Listen to audio versions. Search for folk tales in audio form, audiobooks, podcasts, or YouTube. This will help you practice listening and pronunciation. Retell the story in your own words. After reading or listening to a folk tale, try retelling it in your own words. This helps you practice sentence structure, vocabulary, and storytelling. By immersing yourself in the rich world of folk stories, you'll not only improve your English skills but also gain a deeper understanding of the world and the timeless lessons these stories convey. Once upon a time, there was a young girl who lived with her stepmother and two stepsisters. Her stepmother and stepsisters treated her very badly. They made her do all the hard work in the house, cleaning, cooking, and taking care of the chores while they rested and enjoyed themselves. Despite all the work, the girl remained kind, patient, and hopeful. One day, a grand event was announced in the kingdom. A ball was to be held, and everyone was invited to attend. The girl dreamed of going, but her stepmother, who did not like her, said, "You may not go. You have too many chores to do." The girl was heartbroken, but she quietly went to work, knowing that her chances were slim. Just as the girl thought she could not go to the ball, something magical happened. An elderly woman appeared before her. This woman was kind and gentle, and she had a special power. With a wave of her hand, she transformed the girl's old clothes into a beautiful gown. Her shoes were changed into sparkling footwear, and even a pumpkin in the garden was turned into a magnificent carriage. The woman told her, "You may go, but remember, once the clock strikes midnight, the magic will end, and everything will return to how it was before." The girl arrived at the ball, and everyone was amazed by her beauty. The prince, who was looking for someone special, noticed her immediately. They danced and talked, and for the first time, the girl felt truly happy and important. But as the clock began to tick towards midnight, she remembered the warning. She ran from the ball, leaving behind one of her shoes in the rush. The prince searched high and low, determined to find the girl who had captured his heart. He visited every house in the kingdom, asking the women to try on the lost shoe. When he arrived at the girl's home, her stepsisters tried on the shoe, but it did not fit them. Finally, the girl tried on the shoe, and it fit perfectly. The prince knew she was the one. The two were married, and the girl, who had once been treated poorly, became a princess. Her life was filled with love and happiness, and she was never forced to work hard again. Literary analysis of folk tales. This story is a classic example of a folk tale, a type of story passed down through generations, often told orally before being written down. Folk tales are an important part of many cultures and often feature simple plots, common characters, and universal themes. One key feature of folk tales is the presence of magical elements. In this story, the appearance of the elderly woman with magical powers transforms the ordinary girl's life and allows her to attend the ball. Magic like this is often used in folk tales to demonstrate that change is possible, even in difficult circumstances. The transformation from rags to riches symbolizes the girl's hope for a better life. Another important element of this folk tale is the moral lesson. Folk tales often teach lessons about virtues such as kindness, patience, and hope. In this story, the girl's kindness and optimism, despite the hard treatment she receives, are eventually rewarded. This highlights the common folk tale theme that good will triumph over evil. The character archetypes in this story are also typical of folk tales. The girl is the innocent and virtuous protagonist who faces challenges, while the stepmother and stepsisters represent cruelty and unfairness. The elderly woman is the wise helper, a common character in folk tales who aids the protagonist. The prince represents the idea of a perfect match, often appearing as a savior or reward for the protagonist's virtue. Finally, folk tales are often timeless and adaptable. They are simple enough to be retold in various ways, and they continue to be relevant across different cultures and generations. Whether through written stories, plays, or movies, the core ideas of this folk tale, overcoming adversity and finding happiness, remain powerful and universal. This story, like many folk tales, shows that no matter how difficult life may seem, there is always the possibility of change, growth, and transformation. Character analysis of Cinderella. In the well-known folk tale of Cinderella, the protagonist, Cinderella, embodies several key traits that shape her character and contribute to the story's moral and themes. She is a symbol of resilience, kindness, and hope, and her character undergoes a significant transformation in the narrative. Cinderella, the protagonist. Kind and compassionate, from the beginning of the story, Cinderella is depicted as a deeply kind and compassionate person. Despite the cruel treatment she receives from her stepmother and stepsisters, she remains patient and continues to show kindness to everyone around her. She does not seek revenge or harbor ill feelings, even when subjected to unfair conditions. Her compassion is evident when she cares for animals, like birds and mice, and when she remains gentle despite the hardships she faces. Example, when Cinderella is given difficult and exhausting chores, she quietly performs them without complaint, maintaining a positive attitude. This selflessness contrasts with the behavior of her stepfamily, who are selfish and cruel. Resilient and optimistic, Cinderella's ability to maintain hope and resilience, despite her circumstances, is a central aspect of her character. Even though she lives a life of constant mistreatment, she doesn't lose faith that things could improve. Her belief in a better future helps her to endure the difficult moments she faces, showing strength in the face of adversity. Example, when the magical figure helps her attend the ball, Cinderella's excitement represents her optimism that a better life is possible, even when she has been deprived of it for so long. Innocent and pure. Throughout the story, Cinderella is portrayed as innocent and pure-hearted. She does not seek to harm or trick anyone, and her goodness radiates in her interactions with the prince, the animals, and even her stepfamily, despite their cruelty. Her innocence and purity are key to her character's success in the end, as they allow her to win the love and affection of the prince and the admiration of those around her. Example, at the ball, Cinderella's charm and grace attract the prince's attention, not through any act of cunning, but simply because of who she is at her core, good and virtuous. Strong sense of justice. While Cinderella is patient and kind, she also has a strong sense of justice. This is evident in how she handles her mistreatment by her family. She does not retaliate, but the resolution of the story suggests that, eventually, justice will prevail. Her kindness and moral uprightness win her the love of the prince, which can be seen as a form of justice for her previous suffering. Example, when the prince seeks the owner of the glass slipper, Cinderella's identity is revealed, and the truth of her innocence and goodness shines through, leading to her eventual happiness. Stepmother. Cruel and manipulative, the stepmother is the antagonist in the story, representing the cruelty and injustice that Cinderella faces. She is harsh and treats Cinderella like a servant rather than a daughter. She often forces Cinderella to perform all the housework while giving her stepdaughters special treatment. Her actions are motivated by jealousy and a desire for power, as she wants her own daughters to win the prince's favor. Example, the stepmother's refusal to let Cinderella attend the ball illustrates her cruelty. She not only forces Cinderella to do all the chores but also places additional obstacles in her path, such as giving her impossible tasks to complete before the ball. Narrow-minded, the stepmother's character is limited by her own narrow view of beauty and social status. She is obsessed with appearance and wealth, and she believes her own daughters are more deserving of the prince's attention simply because of their status and outward appearance, rather than their inner qualities. Example, Despite her stepdaughter's vanity and unkindness, the stepmother continually pushes Cinderella down, believing that beauty and outward appearances are the only ways to gain status, ignoring Cinderella's true beauty inside. Stepsisters. Selfish and jealous. The stepsisters are portrayed as selfish, jealous, and shallow. They are extremely envious of Cinderella's beauty and kindness, and they treat her with disdain. They mock and ridicule her, even though she never does anything to deserve their cruelty. They represent vanity and selfishness, and their characters act as a foil to Cinderella's pure-hearted nature. Example: the stepsisters' behavior during the ball, when they are shocked to see Cinderella's transformation and attempt to mimic her, highlights their jealousy. They cannot understand why the prince would choose Cinderella over them, despite their outward appearance and status. Lacking empathy. Unlike Cinderella, the stepsisters do not show any empathy or kindness, even when they see the suffering that Cinderella endures. They are focused only on their own desires and happiness, showing little regard for the well-being of others. Example: their treatment of Cinderella, ordering her around, making fun of her, and preventing her from going to the ball, demonstrates their lack of empathy. They focus only on themselves and their own social ambitions. The prince. Romantic and idealistic. The prince, though not always as deeply developed as Cinderella, represents the romantic ideal. He is immediately captivated by Cinderella's beauty and grace, recognizing her for who she truly is rather than just her outward appearance. His character symbolizes the idea of true love and the search for a soulmate, making him the perfect match for Cinderella. Example: the prince's search for the girl who fits the glass slipper shows his deep admiration for Cinderella, as he values her inner beauty and character above all else, rejecting the superficiality of the other women in the kingdom. Determined and persistent. The prince's determination to find the girl who left behind the glass slipper shows his persistence in pursuing true love. Unlike the stepsisters, who are concerned with beauty and status, the prince values the unique qualities that Cinderella possesses, such as her kindness and purity. Example: his unwavering quest to find the slipper's owner, even after facing disappointment with the stepsisters, reflects his commitment to finding the right person, regardless of obstacles. Conclusion. In the story of Cinderella, the characters represent various moral lessons and virtues. Cinderella's goodness, resilience, and kindness ultimately lead to her success, proving that inner beauty and goodness are what truly matter. On the other hand, the stepmother and stepsisters embody negative traits like cruelty, jealousy, and vanity, which lead to their eventual downfall. The prince, though not as central as Cinderella, represents the ideal of love that transcends outward appearances, ultimately recognizing Cinderella's worth beyond what meets the eye. Through these characters, the story teaches lessons about justice, kindness, and the triumph of good over evil.